Do you think anything has been accomplished that the protesters have wanted to accomplish? Do you think that they have seen victory on any of these different circumstances on any level?
I think if the protesters wanted to make fools out of themselves, they did that successfully. They basically made a mockery of what it means to be Muslim. They made a mockery of Islam. And, I thought that they were out there trying to defend the image of Islam, but basically what I think they've done is validate and confirm in many people's minds the idea of the angry Muslim. And so, I've noticed outrage that now has emerged in this sort of second wave of protest against the image of the angry Muslim. There's a new Newsweek cover that says Muslim rage, and there are folks that are taking offense to that image. Well, what I'm seeing as portraits of Muslims is a mirror on the darkest part of our society, and we have to be honest about it. This is an expression of the most extremist interpretation of Islam, the people who are the most backwards in terms of thinking about this world in a critical way, and this is exactly what these magazine covers and this public discussion is exactly the end result, I think, of this protest. I actually think that the protesters have served their cause poorly. People are going to dig their feet even deeper into the sand in standing up for freedom of expression. If you protest so loudly and so violently, I think we would all be setting civilized debate back a century if we cave and cower in the face of such anger. I'm a mom, and I know that when my son was 2 years old and threw temper tantrums, the worst thing I could do for him was to give him what he wanted. And that's where we're at in my eyes, in terms of these kind of protests. We're very infantile. We are emotional. We're not dealing with things in a rational way. We don't have our prefrontal cortex operating and defining us. We have a very knee-jerk reactionary response to offense. And that's the reflection to me of a very immature community, a community that is not guiding its people to be mature and to be, good citizens in this world.
Well, if you think that the Muslims now who are protesting are not representing their cause well, what do you think representing their cause well would look like or should look like?
Well, the movie was so sophomoric itself. It was a juvenile, representation of this filmmaker's criticism of Islam and Islamic history. So, it's a reflection of what he thinks of Islam. It's not a reflection of what Islam is or what it can be, but I think what they could do is be good citizens. If you really want to represent Islam well in the world, then contribute to the world.
And then just to switch, just from the protest with the embassies to most recently, I just wanted to get your opinion on this, and that Taliban allied insurgent group has claimed responsibility for a suicide attack, and then I believe it killed 12 people, and the group, the Hazab-e Islami Gulbuddin group, who are they're allied with the Taliban, they said that a 22-year-old woman drove a car packed with what I have here is 660 pounds of explosives into a van. If you look further into it, do you think that it is strange that it was a woman suicide bomber? Is that common? What are your thoughts on the fact that it was a woman and not a man?
Well, I watched the news today of the woman suicide bomber in Afghanistan, and it makes me really sad. And this, use of violence by the insurgency and the militancy has taken the lives of not just young men, but also women now and children. They are used as bodies, as weapons in these wars, and I think that this is all a twisted reflection. This is all a reflection of our twisted way of trying to bring about change in the world. Somehow, this young woman was manipulated just like young boys are manipulated to become weapons of war. And I know tied up in all of this is issues of honor and shame, of the Muslim world being dishonored, perhaps of this girl bringing honor back to the community. There's just so many layers of just twisted thinking that has now laid siege on our communities.